Caring for a loved one with dementia can often feel like navigating a storm. The unpredictable behaviors, the emotional toll, the constant worry, it can leave you feeling overwhelmed and exhausted. But what if you had the tools to find your calm in all the chaos? Today, we're exploring practical stress-reducing strategies specifically designed for dementia caregivers. From mindful moments to building a supportive network, join us as we chart a course toward a more peaceful and manageable caregiving. Welcome to Fading Memories, the podcast for caregivers of loved ones with dementia. I'm your host, Jennifer Fink. My mom had Alzheimer's for 20 years, and when I went looking for answers, I had to start a podcast to find them. Join me as we navigate the challenges of dementia caregiving together. Let's share our experiences, find solace, and discover the strength within us. Get ready to embark on a transformative caregiving journey with Fading Memories. Feeling overwhelmed? You're not alone. I know that feeling all too well. It can be tough to navigate life's challenges, but you don't have to do it all by yourself. Introducing Help Text, your personal therapist in your pocket. With Help Text, you get expert advice and support delivered straight to your phone.
Signed up for the text, and oh my God, that was probably the best thing that I did. See, it's like a friend. It's personalized, so it has your my father's name, birthdays, anniversaries, I mean everything. And so you receive a text as if it was from a friend giving you support.
If you're ready to feel better, sign up for a year of support and get weekly advice tailored just for you. Using the link in our show notes will give you a 10% discount, and when you support our sponsors, you help support our show. Welcome back, Fading Memories listeners. I always appreciate you giving us a little bit of your time every week, and I always strive to make it well worth your listen. And I think today is no exception. With me is Debbie Compton. She is a 3-time caregiver for parents with different forms of dementia. She is a certified caregiving consultant and advocate, and she's also, like me, an educator for the Alzheimer's Association, a speaker, and she is the author of 10 different books. I'm still working on my first one. So the latest book is called The Caregiver's Advocate, which is an international bestseller. And if that's not enough, she also founded the Purple Vine, whose mission it is to empower caregivers to reduce stress, block burnout, and laugh again. So, Debbie, thanks for giving us a little bit of your time today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I always enjoy talking to you, Jennifer.
Well, thank you. So we are discussing going from chaos to calm, and we are in the middle of Thanksgiving week recording this. You had to shoo the grandkids and the hubby out of the house, so you are absolutely, completely familiar with chaos. So where should we start? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with caregiving with different parents with different forms of dementia? That sounds chaotic enough.
Definitely was. There's not a lot of peace and calm involved in that process, and it was an interesting journey. And it's so crazy because at the beginning, I just didn't know enough even about the diseases to understand what I was facing. I just thought, yeah, it's okay, we got it, And I'm thinking it's like basically any other disease, and it's it's okay, and that's just really not true. Dementia is an entity in itself, and it affects every part of the body, as you know, because it hits the brain, which is our central nervous system. And so you're not only dealing with memory issues, which are the main thing that people think of. It's like, oh, they just, can't remember. Well, they can't remember how to get dressed, how to bathe, how to put their clothes on, how to anything. You eventually lose all of that, reading and everything. So it was quite a journey. It was definitely a learning experience. And so
I always like to say caregivers should get honorary PhDs, because anybody who is dedicated to the best care for their loved one is kind of forced to learn a lot, whether they want to or not. And you made a comment about, you at the beginning, you thought, oh, we can handle this. You made some adjustments. And that's kind of one of the things I advocate people to understand is, yeah, in the beginning, you think you can handle it. You put up a big
Yeah.
calendar or a whiteboard or whatever it is, whatever new tool that helps them, with the current level of independence. And, the next thing you know, you're up to your eyebrows in, chaos, confusion, and holy crap, what do I do next? So
Yes.
maybe we should start with like learning how to ask for help, learning how to get help, because you cannot do this alone. I know people hear that all the time, and I know you're out there thinking you can.
Well, you know what? I think we were both there too, though. And, I know that I thought that I could. And I didn't even identify as a caregiver. I just thought I was a daughter helping out her parents. And I'm just doing what they need. And so the word caregiver, when people would talk about that, didn't really even resonate with me. And it's funny because you do feel like I got this. And there's a certain amount of pride involved in that I can do this, and independence, and all the other things. And plus, in my case, I was in upper middle management. I was used to directing tons and tons and tons of people. So what's three?
Yeah.
Guess what? Three was a lot harder than all those others.
It's interesting you say, because I didn't identify as a caregiver either. My dad passed away in March of 2017. I, was determined to give my mom the best quality of life, the most joy, not prolong her life unnecessarily with Alzheimer's. And that didn't seem too hefty a goal, but it became real. I was really aware very quickly that I had no idea what to do. She and I say this a lot, we flunked all of the standard advice with flying colors and fireworks. And I mean, reminiscence therapy, music therapy, we flunked it all. And I don't know if it's because she was further along than I thought. I was trying too hard, putting pressure on both of us that caused problems. Not really sure why we were so good at flunking those things. But that's when I went looking for advice, wisdom, and hope. Did not find what I needed. Back in 2017, there were far fewer books, and there was only one podcast, which wasn't my cup of tea, which is how Fading Memories became a thing. But it wasn't until late 2017 when I went to my first Alzheimer's Association support group, where the facilitator said, it doesn't matter if your loved one lives in their own home, lives with you, lives in memory care. If you are doing that, you are a caregiver. And I was like, oh. And, you said you were a middle manager. So what I'm trying to speak on is I'm trying to help corporations learn the benefits to the business about investing in their family caregivers, because 73% of their employees have some sort of caregiving responsibility. But a lot of us, like you and I, don't identify as a caregiver, or didn't. And so it's kind of hard to reach everybody. So it's like, dear Lord, there's still a lot of education for us to be doing.
Absolutely. And, as the baby boomers age, there's more and more and more caregivers needed every day, because the number one risk factor for Alzheimer's is old age.
Yep.
And we're living longer. So, so our odds go up, and it's absolutely true. You're speaking to the choir here, and we need more education, more information. And that's the same reason that I founded the Purple Vine, because when Dad started having hallucinations, I started researching everywhere, because I'd never been around anyone who had hallucinations. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to handle it. I had no clue. And the only thing I could find online was, don't argue with him. Okay, well, that's a good starting point, but that I needed so much more. And so after I learned all the stuff, and after I got my certifications and my training and had all those aha moments of, wow, that would have been helpful to know, that's why I founded the Purple Vine, because I don't want people to struggle like I did. I don't want them to go through all of this. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I give them the answers, and I tell them up front, and I try to prepare them for it, to say, well, you may not be at this right now, but it could very well be coming. And so the more you can learn up front, the smoother your journey will be. And that's my whole goal. Just let them have a smoother journey than we had. because
Oh,
I
for
flunked a
sure.
lot too.
Fortunately, I landed on taking my mom to the park, the pool, various places where she could just watch kids. She was very happy doing that. And it
Hmm.
allowed me, a little time to just to be with her, but to also kind of relax or respond to emails on my phone. I did start getting better at that. You know,
Hmm.
just, just deal with things, and just being outside was really
Yeah,
beneficial. I had kind
it's
of
great
planned
for
on
both
taking,
of you.
oh yeah, she kind of had
Yeah.
like just a hint more spark behind the eyes when we got back
Hmm.
from, an hour or so at the park. But yeah,
Hmm.
it took a lot of spectacular failures, some not fights, but some, you know, everybody said to do things like simplify the hobbies they enjoyed. Well, my mom enjoyed lots of creative hobbies, and I actually had art therapists who gave me advice, along with giving my listeners advice. And I tried
Hmm.
them, like leaf rubbings. Like, how hard is that? Well, duh,
It's
if
a
you
lot
can't
harder than you
see,
think.
it is a little harder, but if you can't see the leaf, what the heck? Why are you rubbing this thing on this piece of paper? And she always
Right.
commented, I'm afraid of doing it wrong. Oh, that used to make me
Mm.
crazy. Like,
Hmm.
that wasn't
Well,
it
the
wasn't
thing about
necessarily her
that too,
personality. Go ahead,
the
sorry.
the thing, no, you're fine. The thing about that is that I have a real problem with people saying this is what you do. Well, you know what? I cared for three of my loved ones. What worked for dad wouldn't work for mom. What worked for mom wouldn't work for my mother-in-law. They're different people. They were different before they got the disease. They're definitely different after they get the disease. And so there's no one size fits all. You
Hmm.
have to, and that's why the consultations that I do are so important because people call and then they can tell me, we can chat over Zoom and they tell me their exact needs and what's going on. And we dig deeper to find out what's happening. And then I help them come up with solutions that match their need because again it's not a one size fits all and even in the first book that I wrote, Caregiving, How to Hold On While Letting Go, I tell the approach that I took, that my older brother took, that my sister took, that my younger brother took. That's four different viewpoints on some of the topics in here because we had different relationships also which factor in there. I couldn't say certain things to my dad because I was his daughter. He was old school in that he was grew up in a very male dominated time and the men go out to work and the women stay home and all those stereotypes going on, right? So there were
Hmm.
certain things that he was not going to listen to me when I said. But my brother could say, "Dad, you take a bath today or I'm going to throw you in the bathtub." And so dad would be like, okay. And off he goes. But I beg and try and coax and the whole bit. And it's, nope, not doing it.
Spectacular failure.
Yeah, exactly. It takes a team. It takes a team to support someone with Alzheimer's. And that's why, as you alluded to earlier about forming a support team, one thing that I love to tell caregivers to do, because people ask us all the time if there's anything that they can do to help, right?
Hmm.
And what do we always say? Fine. It's okay.
Sure. I'll
I
let you
got it.
know. Yeah.
I'll get back to you. We won't. We're lying. It's not going to happen. And so what I tell people to do is take out an index card and write down things that would be nice if someone did for you. Doesn't even have to be related to caregiving. What if they mowed the yard? What if they did some laundry, took the dog for a walk? Whatever it is, write those things down on an index card and then keep it with you, whether it's in your purse, your back pocket or whatever. And when somebody approaches you and says, "Hey, what can I do? I wish there was something I could do to help," whip out that index card and say, "Is there anything on this list that you would like to do?" So, see, I'm not asking you to do something you're uncomfortable with. I'm not asking you to do a specific task that you don't want to do. I'm saying, look at this selection here. Is there anything here that you would be willing to do? So it's a lot less aggressive, I guess, and it's not pushy. It's not putting people in a spot, and it works.
I
So,
like that it's kind of a twist on what I tell people to do. Is I tell people write down everything you need to do today on a piece of paper. Then add
mhm,
to it everything you need to do this week. If it takes you a week to write that down, all the different tasks that get done through the week, like getting your clothes in the dryer before running the dryer cycle. I was talking about that out while we were offline. And then make a list of everything. So you got the week, make a list of everything that needs to get done on a monthly basis, and then throw in the random things like doctor's appointments. And now you see all of the things you need to do just to maintain the two of you, your household, and life in general. It's like amazing how much crap needs to be done every day. Then there's the second thing is to make a list of everybody you know. They don't have to be local, they don't have to be family. And then this is kind of where my mind differs from yours. And so I think people should contemplate which one would work better for them. But next to somebody's name, like you said, you were in middle management. So I think you and I would probably have some different skills. Write down what you think Debbie would be good at, what Jennifer would be good at. Because please don't ask Jennifer to talk to people at the bank, the insurance company, Medicare. That stresses me out just thinking about it. I hate it.
Yeah.
Don't want to do it. You know, if
Right.
you really need it, I will do my best, but dear God, please don't ask. But if you need somebody to walk the dog, you know, I can usually get my clothes in the dryer and dry. And you guys are going to have to go on my Instagram to find that story. You can, you know, I'm an excellent baker. I'm a very good cook. If you need meals, I can, you know, provide you with some frozen meals that you dump in the slow cooker. That would be great. And I can fit that into my pretty much into my normal schedule. So when I come to you and say, oh my gosh, Debbie, I can't believe you've got a third parent to take care of. Is there anything I could do to help? Bam, you have an answer. You're like, Jen, could you like throw a meal and the crock pot meal together for me every week? And I'd be like, you got it. I'll throw in some cookies while we're at it.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's perfect.
If you give them a list of like, oh my gosh, these are the things that I'm really struggling with, that might work too. So now you guys got two different ways of getting help that are pretty simple. So that's a great start. Because, you know, a lot of places, the Alzheimer's Association stuff, you know, like reach out here, call this, everybody's overwhelmed, not enough staff. You know, this is a definite DIY. You're going to have to put together your own care team. And I kind of think it's a little bit better if it's people that are close to you and personal. They know you better. They know your loved one better. So,
yes.
So how do we handle those days so I guess I'll tell a quick story. My mom's care home kept thinking that she was having UTIs. I would take her to the doctor. That was a struggle enough to get a urine sample to discover, no, she didn't have a UTI. She kept having small amounts of blood in her urine, and I kept taking her to the doctor. This one particular nice late spring day, I was like, might have been early fall. It was a perfect day to go out with my cycling club. I peeled off a little early because I'm like, you know what? I don't have any photography clients. I don't have any podcast recordings. I'm going to get home, shower, dress, have some quick food, and I'm gonna get some stuff done today. Don't ever verbalize that, even in your own head, because the universe will fix it for you. So it was about between 11:45 and 11:50. Doctor's office calls and says, well, the doctor would like you to bring in your mom. Oh, really? Why? To which I got, you could almost see the blinking, like, why am I being questioned kind of expression. And they're like, well, the doctor, Turned out they wanted to schedule an ultrasound, which just do it. Just schedule the damn ultrasound. You don't need to see her. So I explained to the gal on the phone, I said, well, unfortunately, to go get my mother and bring her back to you guys, I said, that's about an hour plus you. And I said, no, I don't have time for that. I can't make that happen today. And you could almost hear the disapproval, the, oh my God, I can't believe what a horrible person. Like she was shocked. You could hear it in her voice, which did not sit too well with me. Long story short, I had to call, I think I made 8 phone calls in 3 hours, to the point where at 51 years old, I lost my beep. I knew in my head the person that I was screaming at was not the one that was totally responsible for all the problems. But I was so frustrated and so angry and felt so disrespected that I could not bring myself back into an intellectual, logical state of mind to stop screaming at the person on the phone. My neighbors could hear me because the windows were open. It was bad.
No. Oh
Oh,
no.
and I've learned, I've mellowed with age. I used to be like that so bad when I was in my 20s. I just turned 58. I don't do that anymore. It doesn't get anybody anywhere. You're just stressed out. Your blood pressure is up. You're sweating. You're just all bad. Don't do that. But how do
Mm-hmm.
we handle situations where other people are trying to dictate what we need to do for our loved one, and they just don't seem to understand that you might actually have other things that need to actually happen.
Yeah, well, and that's a good point, and that's one that we cover in the book that you alluded to, The Caregiver's Advocate. We talk about setting boundaries and how to establish those boundaries and let people know, what is acceptable and what's not. Because, like you said, you can't just let them overrun, and that's what Karen Shooter is. An educator, and she's got several other titles behind her name too. But anyway, she wrote about promoting healthy boundaries to thrive, which is true because if you don't set those boundaries, you get totally overrun. And then you have folks also that say, well, I'm a solo caregiver. I don't have time to take care of myself. Because I kind of felt a little bit of that myself when I was taking care of the three of them. It's like self-care felt selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I can't take any time to me. That's not good. That's not right. That's not fair. I got to take care of them, and I have to handle their situation and their needs. Well, then if you can stop and look back, how well are you actually taking care of them if you're not taking care of yourself? Because
That
you're
goes.
frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're
Well,
unhappy.
it goes to the statistic that 50% of caregivers end up in the hospital or deceased before the person they're
Hmm.
caring for. And if you're 65 or older, that statistic is worse. I don't know what the actual number is. And I'm just going to
Hmm.
guess that if you are caring for three people and not taking care of yourself, you're probably at a higher percentage of hospitalization or death before your loved one.
Hmm.
So, what's
Hmm.
going to happen with them? I mean, you had three of them. That's hard enough to plan for. What's going to happen, like with me and my mom, if I drop dead from screaming at this person at the doctor's office?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so that's where you have to reframe it is you have to go, okay, I can't pour from an empty cup. I can't help them if I've given away everything that I possibly have. So you have to pour into yourself just a little bit to be able to have something to go ahead and take care of them. And and again, when people say, "Well, I can't, I don't have time." Well, I thought that too. Been there too. I experienced caregiver burnout when I didn't even know what it was, didn't know it was a thing, but it was because I let myself get to a point of complete and total mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion. It's when you are completely wiped out. You feel like I cannot take another step. It's been X amount of days and I've only had a couple of hours of sleep each night. And the loop-de-loop. One of them's in the loop-de-loop, constantly repeating, asking the same questions over and over and over, and you're answering again and again and again all day long. And it's just all the things that just compile. And when you feel like, nobody wants to help me, well, sometimes it's not that they don't want to. Depends on the priorities. Also, I ran into that. Well, we've got, the kids have a ball game. What? Oh, come on, I had a life. I don't
Yeah,
now, but I had one and I remember what it was like and I want some of that again. So, anyway, when you are all by yourself and when you are a caregiver by yourself, I'd like to tell you just a couple of things that you can still do to take care of yourself, if that's okay.
definitely.
Okay, so number one is called visual imagery. Now, when I first started doing this, didn't know what it was called, didn't hear about it. I mean, a lot of this, God got me through. I'm telling you, it was if not for Him, I wouldn't have made it. And so, visual imagery, I would literally go in the bathroom and lock the door so that I could make sure nobody's coming in, and then just sit down and start to imagine the beach because the beach is my happy place. Go to wherever your happy place is. If it's the mountains, if it's beside a stream, wherever it is, Go to that place in your mind and just close your eyes and go there. Hear the sounds that you would hear if you're in that place. Feel the temperature, feel the sun on your face. Just take everything in, feel the sand between your toes. Immerse yourself in your mind, because here's the trick: your mind doesn't know that it's not real. Your mind will take in all that calming and all that peace, and you can actually lower your blood pressure. You can lower your stress levels right away, drop your anxiety, all by just taking a couple of minutes, 2 minutes to yourself to mentally go to another place that's relaxing and peaceful and calm. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I was
It's
wondering, would it make it easier or be more beneficial if you like I live in a house that was built in 1988. I got a heat lamp in one of the bathrooms, so I could turn on the heat lamp. That thing gets hot.
yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
have like a tray of sand and
Mhm.
sea glass, and then you can run your fingers through the sand. I mean, you could run your toes through it
It
too, but
would.
you might have to clean up the
Yeah.
floor if you do that.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's like
Yes.
I
Plan
have a hard
ahead.
time shutting off my brain. Like I either listen to sleep podcasts at night, or God forbid, I
Mhm.
actually listen to true crime podcasts, which
No.
explains why I'm the way I am, right? It's actually the modulated tones of like I like
Yeah.
at bedtime. I like the 2020 and the 48 hours, not the I love the independent true crime podcast. I actually listen to those. So don't
Mhm.
come at me for that. But yeah, it's that professional voice,
Yeah.
voice actor kind of.
Monotone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It's
it's not too
calming.
monotone. Yeah, I kind of discovered that, like, why do I always fall asleep in front of the TV? I didn't feel sleepy, and then you
Mhm.
wake up and you get up and you go to bed and you're laying there like staring at the ceiling in the dark, and it's like this is
Mhm.
ridiculous. So I've been listening
Mhm.
to podcasts at bedtime for years, and
Mhm.
I've had people tell me, "Well, you just need to learn how to shut your brain off," and it's like it's not like I'm worrying about things. It's like
Yeah.
I'm going over my to-do list, or what did I do today, or what might I want for breakfast. It's like it just doesn't stop. And I don't
I've
think it
been
ever
there too.
will.
Yeah. And I created some visual recordings on that, because it's hard for some people to focus on that, especially if you have noise going on in the other room. And so you can put in earbuds, put on a headset or whatever, and listen to that visual image. It's guided visual imagery where I tell you, you're walking into the forest and notice the beautiful, the leaves, and you hear the rustling and the gentle wind, all this kind of stuff. So it takes you there if you can't go there yourself. So that really supports people.
I would think nature sounds or ocean sounds,
Mhm.
depending on where you're like
Mhm.
to go, along with like the external, like the heat lamp and the dish of sand, would
Mhm.
help you get to that place. And then maybe you
Mhm.
might have to start with, your guided visual imagery, like you said. So that's a really good idea. I'm
Mhm.
gonna have to contemplate those at bedtime. Maybe I can stop listening to true
Yeah.
crime.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how good that is.
It's,
But
what's really
oh
funny
well.
is it only takes about 5 minutes, but the sleep podcast is designed specifically to give your
Mhm.
brain a place to park. Like here's your little
Mhm.
nest. You can go here and just park, and it's
Yeah.
it works, but it's not the same as those TV voices. And
That's
it takes
funny.
longer to go to sleep with the sleep podcast than it does with the murder podcast. So go
How
figure.
funny. We're all different. That's what I was
Yep.
saying. We're all
Yep.
different. So
It,
it takes a lot of different ways. And another thing that caregivers can do is breathing techniques. There's a number of different breathing techniques, but you can stop in the middle of whatever. And it's not just caregivers, it's people at work, it's nurses on the job, it's whatever, wherever you're at. Deep breathing helps get that oxygen into the brain so that you can think more clearly. When you're stressed, you're reducing the oxygen in the brain. So clear thoughts and creative ideas don't come to you
mm-mm.
because you don't have enough oxygen. So if you stop and learn some different breathing techniques, whether it's the box breathing, which is 4 in, hold for 4, out for 4, and hold it for 4 seconds, is what you're doing on those. that helps you as well. And it helps just bring the calm again and brings the peace as you're inputting the oxygen. And it's important to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And so, and you, as you're doing any breathing exercise too, you remind yourself that you're breathing in peace and calm and tranquility, and you're blowing out tension and stress and negativity. And again, your mind is just so powerful that you can use that to calm yourself down and think of a good solution.
One thing that I really like doing, I really just need to like give up nighttime hobbies like TV and reading. And so I have more time for things like evening stretches that are designed to calm your body down and
Yeah.
prepare you for sleep. I have
Mm-hmm.
learned if I'm going to do these 10, 20, 30-minute bedtime stretches, 30-minute stretches sounds like an eternally long time. It is so not when you're into it. But I did a 30-minute stretch once and then had to take off my clothes and brush my teeth, wash my face. And then I was like, well, now I've kind of like wound myself back up, not 100%.
Yeah.
But so now I brush my teeth, wash my face, turn down the bed,
Right.
and I do these stretches and then get in bed and don't always have to listen to the murder podcast.
There you go. There you go.
so
And it
if you-
works.
if
There's
you
a
can-
lot of things that work.
Yeah. So I get mine through the Peloton app. I know not everybody is a Cult of Peloton member, but I'm sure there's plenty of places to get like wind down evening type stretches, pre-bedtime stretches. I'm sure Google searches will help you find all those. But yeah, they're just even a 5-minute full body stretch doesn't even have to be designed to wind you down. Just it takes the kinks out, and once you get some of those kinks out, you feel a little better, and I think you probably get a little more oxygen to your brain. So you could also give that a try.
You do, and you get oxygen in those muscles too as you're
Mhm.
stretching those. So it helps everything to just calm down, function better. Like you said, releases the pain because we hold pain a lot of times in our shoulders, tension.
Yeah.
And so just scrunching up your shoulders as tight as you can and squeezing tight and then letting it go and relax can also just help relieve that tension, help it to calm down.
Yeah, if you have a tendency to do that, scrunch your shoulders up. If you hold all your tension in your shoulders and your neck, ask yourself if your shoulders have become earrings.
Mm-hmm.
That's
when
like
they're
a
up
mental.
so high that they feel
Yeah.
earrings.
Yeah, you can almost feel your earlobes with your shoulders. Yeah, it's because we do that. We don't realize. Sometimes we're
Mhm.
concentrating. Next thing you know, it's like you're all tightened up. But yeah, you could do a 5-minute full body stretch, and not only is it good mentally, but a lot of the frailty and things we get as we age is because the muscles get tight, especially, I don't know if this is especially for women, but it happens as we age because we sit too much, is the hip flexors get
Mhm.
really tight, which makes it more difficult to walk and climb stairs. And now it also affects your balance. Now it makes you a fall risk. So, 5-10 minute full body stretch every day feels great, good for your mind. It's probably the best physical therapy that you could do for free at home.
Exactly.
It's like that is the one thing that I do probably 6 days a week at least. I'm really bad. I don't do it after my bike ride when I go out with the cycle club. I always say, okay, I'm going to go home and do a 20-minute stretch. And by the time I sit in the cafe and chat with the people and then get back in the car and drive home, and it's like, I'm going to do it later. I'll do a bedtime stretch, and guess what happens?
It doesn't.
So
But
what
you know
other,
what? You got out
go
and
ahead.
rode your bike, so good for you.
Yeah, and this group is really fast. So I feel like I'm always chasing them. So it's physically demanding. I have to be careful that I don't wreck myself and then I have to come home and like take a nap.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's a good mental challenge and a physical challenge. So yeah, with all the rain we've had lately, it's like I kind of miss my group. I'm like ready for Mother Nature to turn off the hose for at least a little bit. Not all winter.
Pointed our direction.
Yeah, send it to Oklahoma. Northern California has
Yes.
had plenty in the last, almost 2 weeks. It's like, ugh, terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about how to calm ourselves down mentally and do some things nice for our physical bodies. setting boundaries. What else should we be considering? I mean, all these tips are great for everyday humans, but we're
Well,
talking to the
another thing is that
superhumans.
exactly. Well, when we superhumans become caregivers, we need to adjust our expectations. And that was a big one for me because being in business and having very high expectations, I initially carried that over into the caregiving world, which was a big mistake. And I had to learn to let go of perfectionism. It's okay if everything isn't perfect. Guess what? It's not going to be anymore. It's not. And that's hard for a lot of people to understand and recognize and accept, myself included. It was very hard for me because I thought, no, no, no. Okay, well, you have a hard time with it, but I can do this. I can get it. We can make it here. And, I remember one particular day when I was taking my mom and my mother-in-law both to the doctor because I thought I'd save time and take them both. And neither one of them wanted to go. And so what I did, this part was ingenious. I went to my mother-in-law and I said, the appointment's really for mom, but she doesn't like to go. So can you act like it's for you? And she said, okay. And then I went to my mom and I said, hey, the appointment's really for Jean, but she doesn't want to go. So let's act like it's for you. Okay. And she said, oh, okay. So they were both super happy. So they were both very cooperative. So this part, the early part, was fantastic to get them ready to go. Went perfect. But we ran into some issues. One, that I got mom fully dressed and I left her in the bathroom finishing up and went to get my mother-in-law dressed and was working on her. And then we come out and mom's back in her pajamas. And I'm like, how did this happen? And then I realized, okay, I left the pajamas in there with her. She saw them and thought it was time to put her pajamas on. So she puts them back on because they don't know times and stuff. They've lost that ability. So it was that part was a learning experience for me. It's like, okay, don't be mad at mom. She did the best she knew how to do, be mad at myself. And don't even be mad at myself. Learn from it is the thing. So anyway, several other things happened. We finally get around. We actually make it to the doctor's appointment. And we made it on time. I'm thrilled. I'm like, this is great. We made it on time. And then I glanced down and my mom's wearing 2 different colors of shoes. And I thought, oh my gosh, I blew it. I cannot believe this. And then I had to grab a hold of that thought and go, no, no, no. I'm not accepting that. You know what? This is a victory. We all 3 got here on time
Yeah.
with our teeth, with our, with our hair brushed, with our shoes on and with our clothes on and hearing aids. That's a win. So what if her shoes don't match? Nobody cares. Nobody's going to notice. And they didn't notice. And then I thought, well, even if they do notice, I'm going to say, yeah, she's got another pair just like them at home,
Yeah, I got my mom to the dentist one time and I had to sit with her. She was pretty cooperative, but she needed I don't know, she always thought I was her best friend. So I guess she needed her best friend to sit there with her. That was always fun because I couldn't go across the street to the, independent coffee tea place and relax. No, because getting my mom to the dentist, I needed to relax afterwards. And I'm sitting there and it's like, that woman's got their shoes on the wrong feet. How did we get out of the memory care residence into the car, out of the car into the dentist's office, which was on the 2nd floor, so we had to go up the elevator. I'm like, how did she do that? It's just and then I thought, okay, well, how do I switch them for her without offending her? And it was just like, this is just crazy. And I don't remember. I'm not sure I switched. I might have bumped into her because she was laying on the dental chair and I think I might have knocked the shoes off so I could put them back on, but it was like, this is just, nobody ever said anything. And it was, we want to do such a good job that those kind of things feel like we're not doing a good job. Like my mom got to the point where she did not comb her hair the way she used to. Instead of combing it away from her face, she'd comb it straight down. And she only recognized clothing that she'd had 25, 30 years prior, which were all too big. So between the no makeup and the hair looking funky and the big baggy clothes, she kind of looked like a homeless lady. She was clean, but
Mhm.
she did not look the way I knew she would want to look. And that was really hard because it
Right.
was like, I know she doesn't want to look this way, but I can't do anything to change this because if I try, it's going to make a fight. And that's worse.
Yeah.
And it was,
Yeah.
oh, that was so hard. It's still hard when I see pictures of her and it's like, it's like, ugh, her hair looked terrible. It's just, ugh.
It's just it's an acceptance thing. You just have to accept, you know what? That's the best we could do, and it's okay. And and you come up with ways, if there are ways, to get around it. My mother-in-law's favorite color was purple, and mine too. And so she liked changing clothes all the time, but she wouldn't change her whole outfit. She'd just change part of it. And so she came out one day and she's wearing this, red and white checked shirt, and she's got on blue pants and green socks. I mean, it was crazy. She looks, and then she puts on a vest on top that just doesn't match anything. And I'm just mortified. And it's the same way. I'm thinking she wouldn't want people to see her like that because she was always very neat and clean and tidy. And so what I did was I bought her a whole new wardrobe of shades of purple. Since she loved purple, she could switch top or bottom, and she still was in purple. So she matched.
That makes sense. You got like
Mm-hmm.
denim, navy blue pants, denim, jeans, and then all
Mm-hmm.
various shades of purple on top. And she didn't have a problem with, so like my mom would have been like, I don't know
Mm-mm.
whose clothes these are. It didn't matter if they were her favorite color.
Oh, no. No, my mother-in-law wasn't really as attached to clothes. Her thing was more, it had to have a high neck, it had to have long sleeves. We don't want to be vain here and we don't want to be showing any skin. And so that was really hard to buy her clothes because of her requirements. But then as she got older, she was always freezing all the time. So then it was easy. You get sweaters, different shades of sweaters and different patterns of sweaters and sweatpants because they're easy to pull up and pull down. And that's what she needed. She couldn't do buttons or snaps or anything like that.
What kind of clothing solutions did you have any issues with your dad in clothes? Because I know
Mm-hmm.
clothing
Yeah, I
is always a
did.
trouble.
Yeah, he couldn't do the buttons. He always had worn button-down shirts and stuff. And with Parkinson's, his fingers got real stiff and he couldn't do the buttons anymore. So we bought him Western style snap shirts. And he loved those because my dad would never wear sweats. He wouldn't be caught dead in sweats. Just he was a businessman, didn't do that. And so we got him we did find some pants that were pull up pants, but they had the fake, fly and everything on the front. So they looked like they were actually buttoning and stuff, but they weren't. And then had the Western style shirts with the snaps on them. And that worked real well for him.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
they're coming up with more fashion forward adaptive clothing,
they
which
are.
is, yeah, which is nice. Yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
struggle with my mom, she went from a master bedroom closet that was 8 feet wide, double hung, plus
Mm.
the closet that was in my old childhood bedroom. So that was probably 6 feet, also double hung. That woman had like a whole small shop's worth of old clothes. And I went through them one day at my dad's bequest, and, because that was overwhelming to me. And
Mm-hmm.
ugh, the best thing about that was she got really pissed off that, quote, your sister stole all my clothes. And I was like, yes,
Oh,
I didn't
yay.
get blamed for that.
Hey.
But when she was in the memory care, she literally had the single door, double hung
Mm-hmm.
closet. So we're talking maybe 3 feet of rack space.
Yeah.
And one fall, every time I went to visit, she was wearing the same 3/4 length sleeve sweater. And I'm like,
Oh.
honey, it is 90 degrees outside. What in the hell? I mean, even
Mm.
inside, it wasn't that chilly.
Mm-hmm.
At least,
Yeah.
and I'm always cold. So I was pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure that she was wearing it because it was familiar. And so I asked the staff, I'm like, are you having issues with her changing clothes? Oh, yeah, yeah. And your mama doesn't want to take a shower. Turned out they had switched her from morning showers to afternoon. It was only 2 to 3 times a week. Most older people don't need a shower every day. unless they are wearing incontinence briefs, and then there might need to be a little more attention in that area. But generally, it's actually not good for their skin to have a shower every day.
Right.
It's not actually necessarily for us either.
Right.
But we're talking about older people right now. And I had to tell them, I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. Mom was never an afternoon shower person. She could do chores, paint, and she might just wash her face, slap on a little bit more deodorant, and put on, fresh, quote, knock around the house clothes and shower the next morning. She was not an afternoon showering person. And so they switched her back to mornings, had less trouble. But the facilitator of the support group I was in said, you need to limit your mom's options. And I'm thinking, if I limit them anymore, the woman's going to be parading around naked. Because I'm thinking she went from racks and racks of clothes. And so I finally said, this is kind of stupid, because the closet was pretty full. So this was, approaching fall, which, in California is still we go from like hot to nippy cold pretty quickly. And we were approaching that point, and I'm like, I'm just going to take all the summer things out of her closet. And we had less problems with her changing clothes when there was almost no options. And it was like, and I kind of do the same thing. I don't have a huge closet, don't need a huge closet. I take all the summer tank tops and capris and all that stuff and put them in a container on the shelf. They're there if we have a heat wave. And same thing in the summer. If I'm going to go someplace and I need a sweatshirt, it's handy. And, I'm not.
I do that too.
Yeah, I'm not looking through clothes. Like, my office is really chilly. I'm not looking at a tank top that I really like, that's really cute, looks cute on camera, because there's no way in hell I'm wearing that, because it's freezing. I'd be chattering my teeth at you. And that's when I realized, fewer options to us wasn't necessarily enough fewer options for mom. That was
right.
kind of a breakthrough.
Yeah, it is. It is. And people do that with menus too. They'll hand a person with dementia the entire menu and say, what would you like to eat? That's overwhelming. You can't do that. I didn't hand sometimes I handed mom a menu. If she wanted one, I would hand it to her. But I'd always say, do you want the last thing that you got here? I know you really love that chicken. Is that what you want again? Or do you want something different? You're sparing her dignity. You're reminding her what it is she liked. And she feels like she has a choice, because they're losing so much. We need to give them as many choices and decisions as they can handle without overwhelming.
And my mom got to the point where she would tell my dad, well, I'll just have what you're having, which was always baffling, because my dad was a crappy eater. My mom they ate the same meals at home, but my mom did not like what my dad ate. My dad would have been super happy with a fried hamburger patty, mashed potatoes, and either corn or peas every night. Just the thought of that makes me want to hurt myself, because I like variety. Yeah, it's not good for you either.
No,
but my mom
it's not.
Yeah, no, I've talked a lot about my mom drank 2 liters of Diet Coke. They ate bologna, American cheese, Wonder Bread, lots of beef, lots of potatoes. It was just like, except for the Wonder Bread and the American cheese. And I've never really been a bologna person, but the rest of it's not that horrible. But when you put all that stuff together, it just makes me feel yucky just thinking about eating that way. I could not do that. But yeah, so when she was telling my dad at restaurant, I'll just have whatever you're having, I'm thinking, no, you won't. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, no,
and
you don't like that.
I think he usually said, oh, well, would you rather? I think he kind of gave her options, but he was a good example of not taking care of himself and not learning enough about the disease to learn how to navigate things with her, so that he wasn't always frustrated, because he got frustrated with her at the drop of a dime. It was very terrible. So we're getting a little late, because there's so many good things to talk about with you. We should probably do like a part 2. Do you have
I would love it.
one more really hot tip that people should take away from today that they can put into action immediately? And maybe we will come back for a part 2.
Yeah, that would be great. Man, just one. That's hard. Okay. Because how about if I say two, but I say it fast?
Okay.
Okay. So remember to take breaks. It's okay for you to take a short break. And there's a lot of different ways to make that happen, even if you're a solo caregiver. I figured it out myself, so you can do that. Take breaks. And then the other thing is find some respite care options because there are things available. There's daily living centers, there are senior centers. There are even some nursing homes do respite care to allow a person to come and stay overnight, one night, a weekend, so that you can have a break, so that you can come back refreshed. And it's amazing. And so I would encourage people to do that.
It's important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those do as I do, don't yeah, I mean,
Do as I say, not
don't
as I
do as I
did.
did. Yeah. Exactly.
And you had a second one?
Well, I rolled them both in there together.
Oh,
The first
okay.
one, yeah, I threw it in so fast you didn't even catch it. See? Because the
Well,
first one
then,
was to take breaks, but then the second one was to get respite care too. So they're
okay.
kind of similar, but take breaks even through the day. You need to find just a couple of minutes. If they're taking a nap, it's not the time for you to do the dishes. If they're taking a nap and you're exhausted, take a short nap with them. That's what I mean by that.
So, real quick, when you say finding respite care, where would you suggest people start with that? Because sometimes that can be a whole daunting task unto itself.
It can. I would Google daily living center. Google respite care for seniors, but a Google search is going to show you what's closer, what's around in your area. And there are ones that are free depending on the financial level of the individual.
That's beneficial. The other thing that I did a whole episode on this, so I'm going to share it again with the listeners, is talk to the employees, the staff at, assisted living communities, memory care communities, senior living care, because they're generally in touch with what's available in the area. And they can be one
Yeah.
of your best assets. And they're generally pretty willing
Yes.
to help. So,
And ask your doctor and ask your area center on aging. They can relay you to places as well. And Department of Human Services can also give you information and pointers.
well, if that doesn't give you enough places to start, I don't know what to tell you. This has been great. I do think we should do a part 2. And so you guys will have to stay tuned for that. We'll just have to see when that happens.
Okay, I'd love it.
Well, thank you so much for sharing this wonderful information with the audience. I'm going to link your books in the show notes like I always do, plus your website so people can read the books. I know you also have coloring books, because I can see in the background you've got Color Me Calm. I like that. I'm a big advocate on using creativity as meditation and self-help, self-care. That's my self-care. It's the only way I can meditate to zen out on crafting. And we will just have to have Debbie back for another time.
I'd love it. And there's a journal on the end too. Right to remember. Great tool to reduce stress for caregivers.
That is the one thing I have yet to try. I should do it. I always say that. Well, thanks again. And everybody stay tuned for a part 2. One more thing before I let you go. We got a good thing going here. And if you need a quick read with additional dementia caregiving advice, or you would like a simple way to keep in contact with me, then please sign up for my email newsletter. You'll get a 5-minute or less read every Wednesday morning. No spam, no selling of your information. It's the best way to keep in touch in these turbulent digital times. Now, I know you like podcasts, so here's one you might be interested in.
Hello, this is Adrienne Berg, host of The Ageless Traveler, and I'm here to introduce you to The Ageless Traveler so you know what to expect each and every week as we post podcasts and blogs and hold live Facebook salons. We're all about fun, friendship, adventure, and contribution. No, we're not a typical traveler show. We do offer guidance and resources to ensure that you start to travel and never stop traveling. I'm a travel addict, as you can tell. I've been to 110 countries, and I don't mean to stop now. I meet people, though, who face barriers to starting to travel or continue to travel. The Ageless Traveler is designed to knock down those barriers to travel, like health issues or fear of travel or tight money, lack of time, loss of companions, and even travel burnout. And now I have a request just for you. Follow us on iTunes and Spotify or any other podcast disseminator that you use and review our show. You can find instructions on how to do that on our website, agelesstraveler.com, on the podcast page. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tell your friends about us. And ask any of the questions you want on our website contact page. Talk to us live. This is Adrienne Berg for the Ageless Traveler, here to make sure you never stop traveling.